Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. It was Huang Master who came forward. He was from Eastern Emperor Holy Land. He had multiple bodies, and others had discovered that his comprehension abilities were inferior, so he would have loved to come forward and make some contributions to the race. Seventh True Master, that Ice Cliff Fortress. Huang Master stood aside and waited for Seventh True Master to take the Supreme True Treasure out. All the other Universe Masters were looking at him. Ha, do you really think I'm foolish enough to just give it out like that? Seventh True Master glanced at Huang Master and smirked. After all, it's a Supreme True Treasure. If you take it and refuse to return it in the future, what can I do? I have a suggestion. You give us a Supreme True Treasure, or some Pinnacle True Treasures. After we finish dealing with that human Milky Way, we'll give each other's True Treasures back. Humph. What if that Supreme True Treasure is taken by Duandong River? Huang Master said coldly. Seventh True Master shook his head and transmitted his voice. Those Pinnacle True Treasures are useless to me. A Supreme True Treasure, at risk of being taken by Duandong River, is worth all those Pinnacle True Treasures. Besides, we might be killed because of this inheritance, especially us Universe Supreme Masters. We don't have multiple bodies, so if we're killed, we'll be dead forever. Do you really think I'll take it? He sneered. This ice cliff fortress of mine is very valuable. It's up to you. I'll ask for Supreme True Treasures directly if you're not sincere. There were over 10 Universe Masters from Eastern Emperor Holy Land, and they were all elites within Eastern Emperor Holy Land. 2 of them had Supreme True Treasures. As for the Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land, 2 of them had Supreme True Treasures as well. Seventh True Master might lose a Supreme True Treasure, so Eastern Emperor Holy Land didn't want to risk it. The Divine Eye Clan and Eastern Emperor Holy Land made the deal immediately. Okay, let's do it. We agree. The Divine Eye Clan selected 8 top-tier Pinnacle True Treasures, 3 of which could rival Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. This is Ice Cliff Fortress, Seventh True Master said. He waved his hands. An iceberg appeared in the sky, and there was an exquisite fortress beside the iceberg. The transparent, breathtaking iceberg could have been qualified as a piece of art. Huang Master's eyes were gleaming. He tried to make the true treasure recognize him as its master. Star Tower was still standing in the hallway. Inside the control room, Luo Feng observed the outside carefully. However, the great beings outside were all using their godly power to transmit their voices, so he couldn't discern their plan. When he saw them all take out true treasures, especially when he saw Seventh True Master take out Ice Cliff Fortress, Luo Feng immediately realized their plan. Ice Cliff Fortress. The famous Supreme True Treasure that belongs to Seventh True Master. Luo Feng felt intimidated. It seems they want to use a ceiling palace type True Treasure to take my Star Tower. Supreme True Treasures versus Supreme True Treasures. It was difficult to speculate which one was more powerful. Star Tower is extremely powerful, thought Luo Feng. Nobody in the original universe was able to take it. However, that's only in the original universe. Star Tower hasn't competed with Ice Cliff Fortress yet. If he takes it from me, I'm doomed. If he can't take it from me, I'll be okay, but Star Tower will be exposed. Because if even Ice Cliff Fortress can't take it, they'll all know that this bloody tower is a Supreme True Treasure. Thoughts flooded Luo Feng's mind. What should I do? What should I do? Luo Feng frowned and kept contemplating. Either case was bad for him. He gazed outside and thought hard about it. Luo Feng noticed the crystal and stone pillars. His eyes gleamed. Okay, I'll try that. Just when Huang Master was trying to make Ice Cliff Fortress recognize him as its master, the bloody tower flew over above a crystal pillar, while the base of the tower sunk. It immediately became much taller, and it hit the top of the hallway. The crystal pillar was inlaid into the base. Ha. Do you really think that's going to help? Huangku Master laughed with Ice Cliff Fortress in his hand. He threw Ice Cliff Fortress and used his godly power to drive it. Suddenly, Ice Cliff Fortress started to float and turned to face the bloody tower. Ice Cliff Fortress immediately had an incredible absorbing power on Star Tower and made the bloody tower shake. It seemed to work, but it didn't. How is it possible? Huangku Master was horrified and furious. He glanced at Seventh True Master. Impossible. Unless it's a supreme true treasure. No. A man from the Divine Eye clan frowned and said, it's not a supreme true treasure. Rather, that human Milky Way just moved his true treasure and merged it with the crystal pillar. That crystal pillar was left by Duandong River. It's connected to Boat of Mausoleum. If we want to seal that human, we will have to break that crystal pillar. This has never happened. How is it possible? Everyone was dazed. Luo Feng sat in the control room, smiling. Star Tower was a sealing-type true treasure, which was why the base could be cracked and had the power to absorb everything. With the help of Blood Cloud Pearl, its shape could be altered. At this moment, the base of Star Tower was stuck tightly to the crystal pillar. Even if Star Tower wasn't a supreme true treasure, it would have to be separated from the crystal pillar before it could be taken away. If the base of Star Tower or the crystal pillar was broken, they could be taken altogether. However, apparently, the stone pillars and crystal pillars left by Duandong River were invincible. This rarely happens, Luo Feng whispered. When other great beings are being absorbed, their only choices are to use their burning godly power to resist or to hide in their palaces. There are rarely objects that can't be moved by supreme true treasures, even in the three lands of Extremis. In the three lands of Extremis, there were many environments, lava, winds, and lakes, and there were no objects available to be used to protect oneself. It was like an ordinary person holding a tree during a tornado. When the tree broke, or the human let go, he would be blown away. Some supreme beings were so powerful they didn't have anything to hold on to. Even in the three lands of Extremis, there were a few objects that even Universe Supreme Masters couldn't break. Boat of Mausoleum and black-striped stone pillars were exceptions. As for the natural objects in Tilted Peak Sector and Flowing Countless Mountain, they could be easily broken. Which was why there were few objects that could be clung to by great beings. However, Luo Feng was in Boat of Mausoleum, where even the ordinary ground could resist the attacks from Universe Supreme Masters. As for the stone pillars and crystal pillars, those were used for inheritance, so they were unbreakable. Boat of Mausoleum was an exception, and great beings just tried to use a seal palace-type true treasure to absorb Luo Feng, so they immediately understood the mysteries behind this. Damn it. What a lucky guy. Even though supreme true treasures are powerful, they can't just break that crystal pillars, not to mention crack a pinnacle true treasure. We can't do anything now. That crystal pillar the human Milky Way clung to is the crystal pillar he's using himself. Even if he stays there forever, he can still study the Rhinoceros Emperor game. All the great beings had already figured out the mysteries. They were all furious, yet they couldn't do anything about it. We can't just kill him. Huangku Master, give Ice Cliff Fortress back to me, said Seventh True Master. Huangku Master was hesitant at first. He made eye contact with other great beings, and he gave back the true treasures anyway. The three powers were all upset. We can only use the simplest way now. Attack it. Material attack, soul attack. It's only a pinnacle palace-type true treasure. It might defend itself against material attacks well, but it'll be less efficient against soul attacks. I don't think he can still study Rhinoceros Emperor game when his soul is affected. We can even kill his soul. Okay. Let's attack him together. The 7 Universe Masters started to attack Luo Feng again. However, Luo Feng was sitting in Star Tower and not being affected by the attacks. Soul attacks can't penetrate it even a little bit. His palace-type true treasure is very special. It must be made of some special material. Godly power can't penetrate it at all. The 7 Universe Masters immediately figured it out. Some materials could indeed block godly power, such as Force Armor, which could weaken all sorts of soul attacks to 1/10. Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor could weaken soul attacks to 1/100th. As for Boat of Mausoleum, it could completely block a soul attack. Star Tower was a supreme true treasure. If it was put inside someone's body, it could guard the soul. Outside, it could easily resist all sorts of soul attacks. As for material attacks, some shockwaves passed inside, as no supreme true treasures could perfectly block shockwaves. However, with the protection of a supreme true treasure, material attacks couldn't break valuables. That true treasure can completely block soul attacks. What a true treasure! Second only to a supreme true treasure. Damn it. Then we'll use material attacks. It's only a top-tier pinnacle true treasure. Under the shockwaves, he won't be able to study the game. The 7 Universe Masters could only hit that Star Tower again and again, like a blacksmith hitting the iron repeatedly, making Star Tower shake. Of course, the shaking was fake. Those attacks were nothing to Star Tower. Hit all you want, hit all you want. Luo Feng was seated comfortably in the control room, watching at ease as the 7 Universe Masters attacked like crazy from the outside. However, the supreme true treasure Star Tower was simply too powerful. It could reduce the impact of their attacks to such a negligible degree that Luo Feng's godly power hardly felt anything. With Luo Feng's power, it was possible for him to be free from distraction. There is no need for me to go out at all, he said. I can use my godly power to penetrate into that crystal pillar to continue with my practice of the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Luo Feng smiled. I do not even need to extend the use of my godly power into studying the endgames. In the virtual universe, on a lone individual surface, fog shrouding the surroundings, and there were numerous stone pillars with 3-dimensional virtual shadows. On the left row were 123 stone pillars, and on the right were 10,080 stone pillars. Luo Feng appeared out of thin air, and parked himself within the stone pillars, and could not help feeling pleased. This Rhinoceros Emperor game. To complete decoding the entire game, and 10,080 endgames, I will have to simulate it all the way in the virtual universe. I can immerse myself in comprehending without worrying about how the 3 groups of powers were torturing themselves out there. I have nothing to do with them. Decoding the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and all its endgames, was not a situation that had been within Luo Feng's control prior to being besieged. Rather, after Primal Chaos City Leader and Huge Axe Creator learned about the Rhinoceros Emperor game, they had immediately asked Luo Feng to send a simulation of it back to the virtual universe. Obviously, Primal Chaos City Leader, Huge Axe, and the other great beings of the human race were very curious about the game. The Rhinoceros Emperor game had been the most popular game in the days of the ancient Great Civilization, and it also provided supplementary help for cultivation. How could Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City Leader not be intrigued? This was why Luo Feng had to simulate the game all the way to the virtual universe. So long as he was able to simulate one version, relying on the power of the virtual universe, more copies could be made so that every universe master of the human race could study the game. The Rhinoceros Emperor game is simply too mysterious, mused Luo Feng. I need to continue studying it. His consciousness was in the virtual universe, as it was responsible for observing things. The real studying of the game took place in Huge Axe Creator's miniature universe. Time passed like flowing water. In the universe boat, at the cabin doors of the Boat of Mausoleum. Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land, the both of you do not need to worry about any impending doomsday. Why do you want to vie for the inheritance too? Just the 2 of you. Do you think you are enough to stop all of us from the first reincarnation era? Besides, it is not just us from the first reincarnation era. I believe the other 2 reincarnation eras have plans to enter, too. You 2 old fellows, scram. Get lost. How dare you sever all hope for my race? I shall not worry whether you are from a holy land or not. Everyone, let's join forces and attack. The situation at the cabin doors was already a state of frenzied killing. The first reincarnation era, who facing an impending doomsday, would no longer be mindful of whether their opponents were from a holy land or not, they were about to meet their doomsday, yet the Universe Supreme Masters from the two Holy Lands had dared to join forces in blocking the entrance of the cabin doors. Were these great beings from Holy Lands tired of living? At that instant, the two Universe Supreme Masters, together with the dozens of Universe Masters, joined forces in a crazy exchange of attacks. Only Universe Supreme Masters of the two Holy Lands had supreme true treasures, but they could not seem to use them to attack all at one time. You may be able to hinder us this time, but how long can you keep up with the obstruction? When the other groups of powers arrive, you all will not be able to resist any further. Detestable. Loathsome. You idiotic Holy Land. You deserve to die. Great beings from the other groups of powers from the first reincarnation era were getting growing furious, because they were blocked and stuck outside. The Divine Eye clan was merely one of the many groups of powers from the first reincarnation era. 1-to-1, the Holy Land universes were indeed very powerful. But when compared to an entire reincarnation era, even the weakest primal universe era, both Holy Lands had to join forces to be comparable in power. Within the first reincarnation era, Universe Supreme Masters alone numbered in the dozens. In terms of power, even if the two Holy Land universes were combined to obtain doubled power, they were still far from that of the first reincarnation era. Not to mention that this time, it was all about the third reincarnation era. The two old fellows from Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land forcibly blocked the entrance for more than a year. Thereafter, the 7 Universe Supreme Masters brought their teams of Universe Masters, and mightily forced their way in. These 7 Universe Masters were fast and assisted the two Holy Lands in continuing to block off oncoming great beings. This time round, only half a year passed, but the last batch of 20-odd Universe Supreme Masters, who had led a large army of Universe Masters, Universe Knights and a sea of undying godly spirits, had charged their way in. Mightily, they charged their way in. Duandong River's selection process this time round was obviously much more aggressive. If the selection process during Luo Feng's batch had eliminated 50% of the turnout, then because the number of candidates turning up later was simply overwhelming, the elimination rate of Universe Masters and Universe Knights thereafter increased from 50% to 80%. And the elimination rate of undying godly spirits reached a new high of 99%. Within the life and death corridor of the Boat of Mausoleum, elite great beings from the 3 reincarnation eras and the 2 Holy Lands gathered. From Purple Moon Holy Land, there were 11 Universe Masters. From East Emperor Holy Land, there were 14 Universe Masters. From the entire first reincarnation era, there was a total of 6 Universe Supreme Masters, and 126 Universe Masters. From the entire second reincarnation era, there was 1 Universe Supreme Master, and 32 Universe Masters. From the Primal Universe era, there was 21 Universe Masters. Judging from the number of great beings, one could tell the determination of the first reincarnation era. Almost every group of power had sent their elites, yet before the number and power of the first reincarnation era, groups of powers, such as those from the 2 Holy Lands, could only lower their heads and stand aside as they no longer had any advantages to speak of. The reason why the number of Universe Supreme Masters was not considered many. More of it was because of the 2 Holy Lands. The 2 Holy Lands had arranged for Universe Masters, Universe Knights and Undyings to be sent over, but they did not send any Universe Supreme beings in. The 3 reincarnation eras saw the arrangements and understood right away. In terms of inside information, in terms of number of secrets known, the 3 reincarnation eras would never be able to hold a candle against the 2 Holy Land universes. Since long ago, the 2 Holy Land universes had always been aloof and detached, yet this time, they had sent in quite a sizable army of Universe Masters, making it very apparent that the inheritance this time round was indeed very important. Next important point to take note was that the Holy Land universes did not deploy any Universe Supreme Masters, which most probably meant that, even if Universe Supreme Masters were to go in, they would not serve much purpose. Therefore, other than the 2 Universe Supreme Masters from Divine Eye clan, who had initially charged their way through, the groups of powers were no longer as reckless as before. It was only the first reincarnation era, who felt compelled to send 6 Universe Supreme Masters, as they were a little crazy in the face of their impending doomsday. The second reincarnation era merely sent one, which was also a lone wanderer. The primal universe simply kept its universe supreme masters away from deployment. Around a dozen universe masters were waving their close-range killing true treasures, and roaring without inhibitions, as they attacked the Crimson Tower. Loud roars sounded time and again, causing the entire life and death corridor to tremble as a result. What is going on? Who are the Lord Universe Masters attacking? That tower that is under attack belongs to a human from the primal universe, Milky Way Horde leader. It is said that the most possible candidate to receive the inheritance is Milky Way Horde leader. That's why everyone is trying their best to influence and affect him when he is in the process of comprehending the game. The undying godly spirits were sending messages to one another secretly via voice transmissions, as there were simply too many undying godly spirits present. Just like the first reincarnation era, almost every other group of power had brought millions of undyings. Even Divine I Clan sent over a second batch of undying godly spirits. This resulted in the number of candidates, who were undying godly souls from the 3 reincarnation eras and the 2 holy lands, to still be close to 100,000 even after the selection process. The total number of universe knights was close to 3,000. The number of universe masters was close to 200. At that moment, this was the situation within the life and death corridor. Human form Milky Way, what makes you think you can accept that inheritance? Attack. This bastard. The various groups of powers had their great beings occasionally attacking, making it seem as though Luo Feng was their punching bag. Regardless of whoever or whenever, anyone could attack him as and when they pleased. Within Star Tower, Luo Feng opened his eyes and snorted as he took one look at the outside situation. Make all the noise you want, make as many complaints as you wish. When I receive the inheritance, you all will receive the greatest shock of your lives. However, it seems like Duandong River is bent on choosing a good heir this time. He has gotten so many candidates to step forward to vie for the inheritance. Even my Hong Alliance also sent in so many representatives. This time round, the weakest group of power was none other than Primal Universe era. Furthermore, the number of great beings being sent over was few to start with, therefore, the various groups had to act with concerted efforts. Human race, Bugs Clan, Demon Clan, Automaton race, Crystal Clan, Prison race, Space Beast Alliance, Ancestral God School, various groups of powers from the primal universe had combined efforts, sending a large army of great beings, with the number of undying godly spirits exceeding 100,000, and all of these charged over with murderous intentions, and all of them were great beings that had passed the selection. Those who made it into the Rhinoceros Emperor game was a much smaller number. Among them, Hong Alliance had 1 Universe Master Pengong Master, 9 Universe Knights, and 102 Undyings. How pitiful. Milky Way Horde leader has become a common enemy that everyone targets to kill. What a pity, we are also at our wits' end. 21 Universe Masters from the Primal Universe had gathered. Pengong Master saw how the other reincarnation eras and 2 holy lands were attacking Luo Feng, and he was so mad that his expression changed into an unpleasant sight. Yet, he was helpless. As for the others like Bugs Clan, Demon Clan and Prison Clan, who might have showed empathy on the surface, might most probably be secretly gloating over Luo Feng's predicament. They would not have wished for the human race to become stronger. Regardless of how the outside world was turned upside down, Luo Feng was still quietly studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Time was like flowing water, and the years flew by. In a blink of the eye, close to 500 years had passed. Originally, everyone had thought the time required to complete the test of this Rhinoceros Emperor game would not be that long, yet the fact had proven otherwise, and elites from the 3 reincarnation eras and the 2 holy lands truly felt the difficulty of the Rhinoceros Emperor game. The 999th stage is successfully decoded. In the space of an individual plane surface within the virtual universe, Luo Feng stood before the 3-dimensional virtual shadow of the 1000th endgame and studied it thoroughly. Close to 500 years, endgame after endgame had been decoded, yet the time that Luo Feng spent on decoding these endgames was continuously increasing. He was getting slower and slower, and had to spend close to 500 years to perfectly decode the full 999th stage. The 1000th stage. How difficult. Luo Feng had a feeling this first 1,000 stages would most probably be a bottleneck. Luo Feng. In the virtual universe, while Luo Feng was observing the three-dimensional virtual shadow of that 1,000th endgame, a man in white robe stood a short distance away and watched him. This man in white robe had eyes like jade stones, which vaguely seemed to contain all the secrets within the universe. There was a faint smile on his face, and he was very at ease and relaxed, as though he was on an outing. Luo Feng has proven himself once again. The man in white robe was observing from afar, and even though Luo Feng could see far into the distance in this direction, it was as though the man in white robe was invisible to him. Within the virtual universe, not even Huge Axe Creator could do this. Only the creator of the virtual universe, Teacher Origin. Only Teacher Origin could achieve this, to be before Luo Feng, and yet Luo Feng could feel nothing. Such a short cultivation, but extremely strong willpower. The man in white robe soft-sung praises of Luo Feng has chosen to take the path of studying diagrams of secret engravings. It may be possible that studying the diagrams of secret engravings is similar to studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. If not, it will not be possible that even Huge Axe's speed can be so far from his. The great beings within the human race were also studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game through the virtual universe. Teacher Origin would certainly know the progress of each and every one. He was shocked to discover that Luo Feng's speed of comprehension far surpassed any of the other universe masters. Even Huge Axe could not hold a candle to Luo Feng. Judging from the inheritance, Undyings, Knights, Universe Masters, Universe Supreme Masters, the four levels have very different foundations of their own. Speeds of comprehension are fundamentally different. I suppose the requirements for each level during the selection test will also differ. The man in white robe gently nodded. Luo Feng is merely a universe knight. The requirements for him should not be that high, and he himself could comprehend so quickly. No wonder Duandong River has set eyes on him. Studying the diagrams of secret engravings. The man in white robe shook his head and mused. Rhinoceros Emperor game. Interesting. Huge Axe is obviously not as outstanding in his ability to deduce, because he is too foolishly rigid, placing all his affections on his axe. The man in white robe shook his head. Otherwise, given his foundation of a universe supreme master, his speed of comprehension would not lose to Luo Feng. The rhinoceros game is indeed very interesting. The man in white robe walked to stand beside Luo Feng, and Luo Feng, who was seated cross-legged, was not the least bit aware. If I were merely a universe knight, I think I won't ever be able to match up to Luo Feng. The man in white robe shook his head. He himself had an extremely solid foundation. In terms of ability, even Huge Axe was far from being his equal. After being eternally suppressed for endless time, he grew even stronger and complete, but that was because he could do nothing else when being eternally suppressed. This first 2,000 stages, how should I decode them? The man in white robe walked over to the three-dimensional virtual shadow of the 2,000th stage with a slight frown. He was a genius gifted with talents, and his talents were all so superior that they were unbelievable. As the virtual universe needed to meet the demands of countless living souls on a daily basis, with respect to deducing secret techniques, he was much more formidable and skillful than any other great beings. Rhinoceros Emperor. What kind of an existence this was, to be able to create such an unbelievable object. The man in white robe was beside Luo Feng, as he stood silently to comprehend as thoroughly as he could. The time velocity in his surroundings was maintained at 10,000 times. As the creator of the virtual universe, he certainly had the ability to bring the rate of light velocity to reach as high as 10,000 times within that extremely small area. Luo Feng and Teacher Origin were side by side. Yet Luo Feng was completely unaware of the existence of Teacher Origin, who was right beside him. In the boat of Mausoleum, within the life and death corridor, there were thousands of stone pillars with numerous three-dimensional virtual shadows. There was also a tremendous amount of crystal pillars, and every crystal pillar corresponded to one candidate. The various great beings were comprehending in silence. Of course, there were a few dozens of universe masters who were attacking that crimson tower, trying to disrupt Luo Feng as he cultivated. Actually, with the passing of time, Luo Feng and the batch of great beings who entered with him might have entered a year or two earlier, but because they had been constantly comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game for more than 500 years, there really was not much of an advantage to speak of any further, and they did not feel that Luo Feng had that much hope. It was just to keep the attacks on him going on, normally. Universe Masters, who got tired of comprehending, who start attacking Luo Feng. Ding. Dong. Sounds as such could always be heard, as though the sounds came from the hearts of every great being. What is happening? Duan Dong River. Look, it's Duan Dong River. Right there, from Universe Supreme Masters to Undying Godly Spirits, close to 100,000 candidates looked up into mid-air where light rays converged into a lone figure, giving form to a green-haired man called Duan Dong River. He looked down and his eyes rested on that crimson tower as his voice sounded, "Candidates. Human form Milky Way has achieved the decoding requirements." Ah. What? That human form Milky Way Horde leader has met the demands. Everyone was shocked. Right from the very beginning, if they had seen Luo Feng as a great threat, yet upon comprehending for more than 500 years, they all had shaken off the notion that Luo Feng was a great threat, because they did not believe that out of the countless great beings who joined in later, there was no one who could catch up with Luo Feng's progress. Silence. Duan Dong River's gaze swept everyone present. Silence. Duan Dong River looked towards the Crimson Tower. Milky Way, get out here. Duan Dong River ordered. Sure, the Crimson Tower disappeared. Donning a silver armor, black-haired Luo Feng stood where the tower was previously, and with a slight bow, he greeted, "My greetings, Lord Duan Dong River." That is human form Milky Way Horde leader. Milky Way Horde leader. Those undying godly spirits' eyes widened as they looked afar, at that dazzling figure before them. Luo Feng was aware why Duan Dong River had appeared. Not too long ago, he had completed decoding of the first 1,000 stages, and the reasons to why he could be the first to succeed. Firstly, because he was, indeed, very adept in comprehending. Secondly, it might most probably be, because he was a universe knight. So he was guessing that there were different expectations of great beings of different level of powers. Milky Way. Duan Dong River looked down at Luo Feng. Luo Feng kept his body inclined in a slight bow, paying no heed to the great beings from the various groups of powers around him, who were all filled with envy and jealousy. You may have satisfied the requirements, but this test still takes a long time. Continue comprehending. Duan Dong River ordered, as you comprehend and decode more games, the more beneficial it will be for you in accepting the inheritance in future. Noted. Luo Feng replied. Just focus on comprehending at ease, no one can hurt you. Duan Dong River pointed into the distance. Beside Luo Feng, that crystal pillar suddenly released a hazy half-sphere of light shadows that resembled a gigantic hazy palace, and right away, it moved over to envelop Luo Feng. The entire light shadow palace was a picture of gold. On its surface were countless secret engravings in disarray, and just the power that the palace faintly exuded was strong enough to send shivers into the hearts of all the great beings present. Whoever dares to attack human form Milky Way, Duan Dong River's gaze swept every single being present, shall be eliminated and annihilated without delay. Exterminate. The moment Duan Dong River gave this order, all the great beings from the 3 reincarnation eras and 2 holy lands gathered in the life and death corridor felt a tremble in their hearts. Other than the Hong Alliance, all the other great beings felt an upsurge of anxiety, rage, reluctance, and many other emotions. Long years spent studying had brought them to a belief that the mere additional 1 to 2 years of studying was not much of an advantage. Thus, Luo Feng would not constitute much of a threat. What they had not expected was that the first to reach the basic requirement would be Luo Feng. The great beings were all full of rage and anxiety. Big trouble. This is a terrible situation. That loathsome human. Detestable. Teacher Origin has ordered us to seize that inheritance at all cost. The Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land were transmitting voices to one another, and Dear Bug Master wore a deep frown as he transmitted his voice, saying, "I am at my wit's end." From the very beginning, Duan Dong River has favored Luo Feng, and now, Luo Feng is the first to reach the requirements of Rhinoceros Emperor game. The fast will only get faster. If this continues, he will be in an even more advantageous position. By that time, no matter how eager we are to obtain that inheritance, our chances will be greatly reduced. Dear Bugmaster, how about we kill Luo Feng? Yes, dear Bugmaster, we shall kill him. Even if we were to be annihilated by Duandong River, we must also kill Luo Feng and destroy the slightest chance that he and the human race have. Dear Bugmaster had another take on the matter. No rush, he said. Regarding this matter, we are not the only anxious ones. East Emperor Holy Land is equally uptight about it. The most anxious ones, though, are from the first reincarnation era. With their doomsday drawing near, if Luo Feng manages to seize this inheritance, that would be the same as destroying their chance of transcending their first reincarnation era. They will act to prevent him from succeeding. Besides, from how I see it, breaking open that Shadow Palace is no easy feat. All groups of top powers were secretly transmitting while pondering their best course of action. Duandong River showed indifference as he looked down at them, continuing to say, the human, Milky Way, is now under the guardianship of my secret technique. No matter how you all attack, it will be impossible to break down the protection to hurt him. So it is better not to court your own doom. Comprehending Rhinoceros Emperor game is a long process. Continue to work hard. The more stages you comprehend, the greater your chance of receiving the inheritance. If anyone can decode up to the 6,000 the stage, you can receive the inheritance from a pulse on my Duandong River right away. Duandong River scanned everyone beneath him. Everyone seemed peaceful. This requirement of passing the 6,000th stage was one that Duandong River would repeat for every batch of candidates. Newcomers were very passionate when they first arrived, but as they started to comprehend, they realized that the difficulty level of comprehending 6,000 stages was unbelievably difficult. One could only dream. 6,000 stages. Second True Master sighed. How difficult would that be? I have only comprehended up to the 1,005th stage now. Seventh True Master is still stuck at the bottleneck of the 1,000th stage. Every 1,000 stages is a great leap in level of profundity. This 1,001st to the 2,000th stage would be even more difficult to understand. I don't know what the lowest baseline is. I have comprehended up to the 1,005th stage, which is already the highest among all of my Divine Eye clan, but still not enough to meet Duandong River's baseline requirement. Yet, Luo Feng has met that demand. Could it be that Luo Feng has comprehended more than I have? Or are the demands different for Universe Masters and Universe Supreme Masters? Duandong River looked towards Luo Feng and said, Human Milky Way, the number of stages you have decoded so far has barely reached my baseline requirement. Continue working harder. The more you decode, the better it will be for you. Yes, Lord Duandong River. Luo Feng gave a slight bow. Duandong River nodded. Then he vanished right away. Thereafter, there was an uproar within the entire life and death corridor. Everyone started to discuss the situation. Luo Feng surveyed his surroundings, and saw quite a few great beings throwing looks of resentment, enmity, murderous intentions, and the like in his direction. He could not hold back a grin as he said, Want to kill me? Come on, I will not retaliate. Just like before, I will let you all attack within fighting back at all. Detestable. What arrogance. Bastard. Quite a few great beings from the top powers gritted their teeth out of a sense of helplessness. Previously, they still dared to attack, but now. Duandong River had made it clear that the moment they attacked, they would be eliminated and then exterminated. Moreover, Duandong River had vowed solemnly that, under the guardianship of that shadow, no great being present would be able to break through it. Ha ha. Luo Feng laughed as his gaze swept over every universe master that had attacked him before. The provocation in his eyes was blatant. This made the universe masters even more furious. But they knew that Luo Feng was doing all this intentionally. If they really did attack, they would be falling into his trap. Previously, they attacked me so brazenly. Now, they are scared. Luo Feng shook his head. being under the watchful eyes of close to 10,000 life forms of various clans from the three great reincarnation eras and the two holy lands. He sighed. How ridiculous this is. My time is too precious to waste it on all you. I am going to continue comprehending this inheritance. I am determined to make it mine. With that, Luo Feng sat down cross-legged and resumed his silent comprehension. The hazy golden shadow palace enshrouded Luo Feng as though it were a gigantic canopy. The great beings from various clans, especially the ones from the first reincarnation era and the two holy lands, had moved nearer to the shadow palace to feel it more thoroughly, and they all felt an aura that made them tremble in fright. Unquestionably, this guardianship by a secret technique was so terrifying that universe masters, who had yet to act, had already lost all confidence. They were all anxious and furious, but there was nothing they could do. This made them hate Luo Feng even more. Depriving our clan of the chance of transcending reincarnation. Detestable. You should go and die. One by one, their eyes glared at Luo Feng. Luo Feng swept his surroundings and grinned and closed his eyes. He could not be bothered with them. He had become a target of public criticism, nothing new to him. Since Duandong River's outright display of special attention toward Luo Feng, groups of top powers had been surrounding him with attacks. Since things had already gotten ugly, there would be no need to bother himself with them. The real opportunity was right before him. He had to march fearlessly onward without flinching. There was no need to bother so much. This inheritance will belong to no one else but me, Luo Feng. Are you all angry? Threatening me? Threaten as you please. I, Luo Feng, fear you not. I shall do my very best to comprehend this Rhinoceros Emperor game as fast as I can. Then I will get a hold of the inheritance this time. In the virtual universe, shrouded by a winding haze, stood many stone pillars with three-dimensional virtual shadows. Luo Feng stood before the three-dimensional virtual shadow on the 1001st endgame, pondering. Not too far from him, a man dressed in a white robe was looking at the 2001st endgame. Luo Feng. Luo Feng. Ha ha ha. Such great news, yet you did not tell us. Suddenly, a few figures appeared from not too far away. It was Huge Axe Creator and Primal Chaos City Leader, the leaders of great beings from the human race. There were also Darkness Master, Ice Mountain Master, Remote Lord Master, and Long Yang Master. All of them wore happy expressions. Luo Feng stood up to welcome them. We just heard. Huge Axe Creator was laughing heartily, and his voice was gleeful. You actually met Duandong River's expectations. You are the first to achieve this. It is always said that the fast get faster. With the passage of time, you will get to an even more advantageous position. You are the most hopeful candidate for the inheritance this time. You should not bother with anything else. Do not fret about the threats from the other groups of powers. At most, we humans can just remain in the primal universe. Ha ha. With this inheritance, it will be possible for the human race to transcend the two holy lands in the future. Even though I have never heard of this, why else would the two holy lands be so fixated over this inheritance? That's right. Primal Chaos City Leader nodded, too. Let's not bother ourselves with the rest. We should focus on seizing that inheritance. Yes, teacher. Luo Feng also nodded. With a grin, he said, there is nothing I can do even if they were to create disturbances now. Good, 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 Huge Axe said. We shall not bother you further. Go on with your comprehending. We are just here to congratulate you. Darkness Master also gave him a rare smile. This is humanity's greatest opportunity. Such an opportunity is hard to come by, probably one in several hundreds and thousands of reincarnation eras. It would be a sin to let it pass through our fingers. We shall pin our hopes on you. Remote Lord Master shouted. Ice Mountain Master, who stood to the side, also gave words of encouragement. The group of great beings was talking to Luo Feng. Yet all of them, including Luo Feng, were oblivious to the presence of a man in a white robe, standing a short distance away, watching them in silence. The man in white robe gently shook his head with a sigh. They have to fight on for all of humanity, which depended on them for everything, and I could only watch on helplessly. For countless years, he had observed how humanity had met with various dangers, but there was nothing he could do, because he was eternally suppressed. There was no way out for him. And because of this, he, Teacher Origin, might have gone to various places and even attended the Human Races Conferences, or the Hong Alliance's conferences. Yet not a single being knew he was there. The virtual universe. He was its owner. In the virtual universe, he was omnipotent. Luo Feng, continue to do your best, the man in white robe whispered. No matter how powerful he was, the fight against the primal universe Origin had left him with many afterthoughts. The time that had gone by since he had been eternally suppressed had made him stronger and more powerful. Now, he was even fully confident of being able to break through a reincarnation era. Yet all was too late. Being eternally suppressed, there was nothing more he could do. Primal universe, I am not ready to bow my retreat yet. Never. So long as there is a trace of a chance, I will fight to the very end. A fearsome glint flashed through his eyes as the man in the white robe redirected his attention to studying and comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game in silence. As time passed, things got peaceful and quiet within the life and death corridor of the Boat of Mausoleum. Every group of power gathered to study the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Since Luo Feng had met Duandong River's expectations, naturally, he was more at ease. He had decided to change his method of comprehending. For the past 500 years, he had been comprehending diligently, yet the more he studied, the more he realized that the Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques had a common point. Previously, Luo Feng had been doing all he could to decode the game. Thus, he did not dare to try, but now. Luo Feng had decided that 80% of the time, he would spend on studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and the remaining 20% would be spent on studying the secret technique hidden within the secret space in the Ninth Abyss. Secret technique and Rhinoceros Emperor game were in contrast with one another. An important thing to know, traveling from the Ninth Abyss to the space of the black-striped stone pillars would take a few hundred years. From the space of the black-striped stone pillars to Flame Ice region would also take a few hundred years. Especially when the time velocity over at the space of the black-striped stone pillars was 3,000 times, which meant that he had already spent an extremely long time studying the diagram of secret engravings, and had long finished cultivation of the 7th stage of Beast God Path, even to the extent of nearing completion. Luo Feng had paused his cultivation of the Beast God Path, because he was nearing complete cultivation. But the moment he completed it, perhaps he would be able to become a universe master. The pair of white wings that he badly wanted. He needed to be a universe knight to own it. He needed to receive Duandong River's inheritance. The identity of a universe knight would add to his advantage. As for the laws, Luo Feng had stopped cultivating them. His achievement in secret techniques had reached the pinnacle level of universe masters, where he had created 6 types of strongest secret techniques. He was near to creating a combination of his strongest secret techniques. I will spend 80% of my time studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. I will spend the remaining 20% of the time studying secret techniques. Perhaps, when I compare and contrast them both, my speed of comprehension will get much faster. And I can occasionally take some time to continue honing my willpower. Up until today, my willpower is unable to break through the level of a universe supreme master. If my willpower can evolve up to a new level, my studies on secret techniques may get even faster. This video will end here.